Hi everyone, in this video I will show you the whole interview process for Deloitte USA for any role, and especially I will talk about the questions that was involved in external audit role. So someone referred me on 29th August and I received a mail on 29th August. The same day you will have to fill up an application, your basic details, and you have to attach your resume. And then on September 9th, basically like 10 days after, I got a mail saying my technical round is on September 10th, next day. So on September 9th, then I received the whole process of the interview. So Deloitte USA has 5 rounds totally, 2 technical rounds, 1 HR round, and 1 Besan test, which is online test, and finally the partner or director round. So you will have an orientation before that, before the interview, where they will explain what is the interview process, what is your role, what is Deloitte, how is it working with Deloitte. Basically all the stuff you need to know before joining the Deloitte. So on technical round 1, the questions that were asked to me was, first of all, introduce yourself generally, and what is materiality, what are the types of materiality, and what are the benchmarks for materiality, how do you audit revenue as per Ind AS 115, and how do you check the completeness of revenue, what are the assertions you will look for in revenue, and then how do you audit accounts payable, how do you audit cash and bank balances. So for this question I told you I will be getting external confirmation from the bank itself. Then he asked me, what if the bank doesn't respond, then what will you do? And then how do you audit unrecorded payables, then what are the types of opinion that the auditor will provide, and then what are the methods of auditing. Here I got a doubt. I asked, what do you mean by methods of auditing? Then he said like test of details. Then I told, okay, maybe test of control, substantive procedures, and this was it. And the interview went on for about 20 to 25 minutes, and finally he asked if I have any questions. So this was technical round 1, and technical round 2 was on the same day, and it also went for about 25 to 30 minutes. So if the technical round 1 is basic questions, everything related to audit, and then the technical round 2 will also be basic questions, but they will go deep depending on your answers, and they will try to twist your answers and ask many questions. It is completely fine if you don't know the answer, but try to attempt it, try to think and tell from an auditor perspective. So that is what they want to know. They don't want to know how smart you are, they want you to solve a problem basically. So the technical round 2 went on, and the questions that were asked were basically, first one, introduce yourself, and how do you determine transaction price, and how do you allocate it to the performance obligations. So now when I told the answer, he asked me, so you will find out the transaction price first or the standalone price first, depending on my answer, he asked me. Then I said the answer, and still he was not convinced that I know the answer. So he gave me an example for, let's say someone is providing internet services along with a modem. So which price will you first allocate, and how will you recognize revenue for this? So then I explained it, and then he asked me what is standalone selling price and how will you find it. And depending on my answer, so I told if they are selling it separately, that will be my standalone price. And he asked, what if it is not sold separately, what if it is always sold along with a bundle, then what will be the answer. Then the next question was, how do you audit all the assertions in accounts payable, and what are the assertions that you will basically have to include in that answer itself. And how do you audit accounts receivable, then how do you account for provision for bad debts, what is provision for bad debts, how do you account it, basically what is the entry for it, and how does it affect the balance sheet or the P&L, and what are the bad debts, when will you account for bad debts, how do you check if an entity is still going concern, and what is going concern assumption, and how do you know it ceases to be a going concern, and how do you audit the same. And when I told the answer that we will see if it can survive for the foreseeable future, then he asked me, what is foreseeable future, what is the term for it. And when I told it is 12 months, he asked me if the 12 months is from the 31st March or is it on the date that you audit. So I told it is from 12 months from the balance sheet date. Then he asked me, what if you get to know something that will affect the going concern assumption after the 12 months, but you are aware of it during the audit itself. Let's say he gave a date also. Let's say you are auditing for the financial year ending 31st March 24. You are on 31st October 24, and you get to know that the firm will not survive, will cease to be a going concern after 31st March 25. That is after the 12 months from the financial statements date. Then will you disclose it? And if you disclose it, what paragraph will you disclose the same? And this was the questions that were asked. And finally the question was, who is those charged with governance, and when will you contact them, when will you communicate with them, what are the matters that you will communicate with them? Then when I said that any significant findings from the audit and anything that support that we are not receiving from the management, we will be communicating to those charged with governance. Then he asked me, so if there are no problems and if you don't find any significant findings in your audit, will you not communicate with those charged with governance? So all these questions will make you a little bit nervous and will make you doubt your own answers. That you just have to be confident in what you are saying. That's the key to clear this round, I guess. And finally, any questions for me? So this was on September 11th, next day of orientation, and on the same day by night, very late night, I got a mail saying I'm selected for. There is a HR round on the next day, and HR round I was very well prepared. I was prepared like to answer all the questions like why audit, why Deloitte USA, and why not Deloitte India. And some basic behavioral questions like what are my strengths or what are my weaknesses, why should they hire me. I was prepared for everything, literally. I was like, ask me anything, I can tell you. But she was very chill. She just asked, how are you, how was the interview process, and tell me about yourself, which location do you prefer, and these are the work timings, is it fine for you, is it comfortable for you, and the office is in this location, and how many times have you taken to clear CA final only. They don't ask about inter or foundation. And what are my compensation expectations, and they tell you the compensation package that they are offering, which is non-negotiable. You don't have to negotiate it. And finally, preferred location and any other questions for me. That's all. Very surprising for me since I was prepared for a lot. But anyway, it got over. And I think on the same day I got a mail to clear this VESANT test. So it is an online proctor test that bots will be reviewing it, and you have to clear this round to go to the next round. And this will be easy and also moderate. I would say it will be moderate. You will have to prepare for it, and if you are a fluent English speaker, then it will be easy for you. But if you mix up things and if you talk like or use like, then you won't be able to clear it. If you don't clear it also, they will be sending it again. That's all. You just have to take attempts to clear it, I guess. But I cleared in first attempt. So this test will have 6 sections. The first one will be reading. You just have to read what is in the screen. So you will have to have your camera on and mic on. You can use wired headphones. I did not use any headphones. So if your surrounding is quiet, then it is fine for the audio. And the first one is reading. You have to read what is written in the screen. And second one is repeating. So the screen will say something and you will have to repeat it. There will not be any text on the screen. You just have to hear it properly and repeat it. And this had like 16 questions, which got a little bit difficult to the next one. I mean, the sentences were too big and you just have to remember it without visually saying it. You have to hear it properly and remember it, that's all. And the next question was short answer. So they would be asking, would you take water from a bottle, or you have to answer a bottle, that's all. Very short answers you have to give. And it had around 24 questions. And it is all basic. Only place where I felt it was difficult was they asked me, what instrument will you use to plant a tree or something, that thing. So I forgot what that thing is. I told axe. I don't know if it is still correct also. You don't have to score 100 marks in it. You just have to pass this test, so it's fine. And the next test was sentence building. You will have jumbled sentences and you have to correct it, that's all. And here also the words will not be visible on the screen. You have to hear it and memorize it and think what could be the possible sentence. And then we have story retelling. Here the the computer will be telling a long story. You have to memorize as in you have to understand what is the story. Maybe try imagining that story in your head, and you have to retell the same story. You don't have to use the exact same sentences, but your story should be more or less similar to what it has given. And the main key to clear this section is to not use any filler words or filler sentences. Your story can be a lot more different also, but you have to be clear in your words and not use filler words like the and all. You can leave space also. You just be quiet also when you don't know, when you're thinking, but just don't use and all. And finally, they have two open questions here. They will ask a situation questions, like they asked me, your parents are thinking to get money from your neighbor for something, and do you think it is right or not, and what are your opinions? It can be anything. Your answer can be anything. You have to speak for 30 seconds on this topic. Just make sure not to use again filler words and be clear on all the words. And that's it. Once it is also clear, you will get a mail for partner round. So this HR round and Western test you have to complete on the same day, and I completed on September 12th, and on September 13th I got a mail for partner round. So the partner round will be both technical and behavioral. You be prepared for both. The questions that were asked in my partner round was, first, obviously introduce yourself, and second, how do you recognize revenue. So all my questions were related to revenue in the beginning because my resume contains revenue. So the first few questions depends on what you tell in your introduction, and how do you recognize revenue, what are the assertions involved in revenue, and how do you check the accuracy, and how do you check the completeness of revenue. And then it was, what is contract liability, what is contract assets. These are technical terms that are used not majorly in practical, but in your technical. These are to test your technical knowledge. So you would have studied this in your finals, so you have to remember it, or you have to remember it and tell them what do you know about contract asset and contract liability. And the next question was, so my introduction and my resume did not contain anything about audit. So I asked me, do I have any audit experience? And I said no. Like practically I have not done audit, but I have technical knowledge related to that. And then he asked me, why are you choosing audit then? And in your long-term goal, will you see yourself as a CFO of a company or an auditor of a company, and why again? Why do you want to become the auditor? And this was the last question, and finally he asked me if I have any questions for him. And you have to little bit impress him with this question. If they are telling if in their introduction they are telling like, I have worked so much years in this company, you can ask, how was your journey all these years? Or you can ask, what is your advice for someone coming as a fresher in this role or to this company? You can ask anything. And that was all. Thank you.